The keyword research process comes after the market research. So in this case, we're looking at system 33. Excuse me. So you might want to have that open as we go through this. My approach to keyword research, by and large, is to let Google do it. So what I do is I use controlled broad match terms. So I use a lot of modified broad match terms. I'll explain what that is in a bit. In my account, and then I review the search queries on an ongoing basis as part of the keyword review process to kind of refine the keywords as we go. What you need to do when you're setting up the account to begin with is you need to provide Google with a bit of guidance. So the initial keyword research is really important because it dictates how you structure your account, what ad groups you create, and if you get this wrong, then it's not going to be right later on. So it is very important that you do put sufficient time into this. There's really two steps to this process. The first step is identifying broad areas of related keywords that are going to make up our ad groups. And then the second stage is to drill down into a particular ad group and try to identify all the terms that you think are relevant and that you want to add to that particular ad group. I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they combine these two things. So they'll go off and they'll maybe start to add a bunch of keywords before you've done all the broad research and identified all the possible things that people might search for. So okay, so that's enough preamble. So you need to follow along with S33. The first thing that you're going to do is take a piece of paper and note down all the broad areas that you think people might search for. If it's not your product, if you're doing this for a client, for example, then you might want to speak to the client, speak to customers, and really get a feel for what people might search for. At the moment, this is purely a brainstorming exercise, but it's good to sort of provide a bit of structure initially into what you might want to research. Step 2 then is to, if it's available, is to review the internal site search for other broad keyword ideas. So this is something that I don't see enough sites making enough use of. So there's two reasons to have a site search function on your website. One is obviously because visitors kind of expect it if you have a site that's bigger than about 5 pages. But the other is to see what they are searching for, because the things they are searching for are the things they're looking for an immediate solution to. And it's really useful to be reviewing these search terms on a fairly regular basis. The place that you find these terms will depend on how you've got your site search set up. I use Google Analytics. So if you've got this set up in Google Analytics, then what you can do is you can come into behavior site search, and Analytics will show you what search terms people have entered into your site search box. So this is another great source of keyword ideas for things that people are actively looking for, and maybe even things that people are looking for but they can't necessarily find on your site at the moment, so it isn't obvious from your navigation, for example. So this is a prime example. So from my site, the only search in the last month has been for the Tenor Conversion Club login, which probably means that it's not very obvious on the menu. So that's another benefit. So there's loads of great stuff you can get out of doing a site search, but it's a good tool for kind of identifying other broad keyword opportunities. Step 3 then is to look for related searches on Google Search. This is a very simple tip, but it's very underused. So I'm using the example of traditional archery in this case. So what you need to do is you need to come to Google, enter some of your primary terms that you identified as part of step 1 in the brainstorming process. Enter them into Google, but don't press enter, and pay attention to what comes up here. These are related keywords that Google knows are related to traditional archery. Google store a lot of information about what terms people enter after a particular search and before a particular search. So this is very interesting. So pay attention to this and make note of it. Make a note of any broad areas that you hadn't thought of. The other thing that you're going to want to do is come down to the bottom and have a look at the searches related to whatever you search for. So, we've got a few other things that we've got, quivers, form and technique. So, form and technique would probably be a broad area. Supplies is obviously a big area. So supplies, equipment, that would be a broad area. Bows is obviously a broad area as well. So, that's another thing you can do. So, and again, I wouldn't just search for one keyword. I would drill into somebody's related keywords as well. So, if we're going to have a look at quivers, we can do the same thing basically. So, we've got leather quivers, suede quivers. So, that starts to drill down a bit more. So you can really take this as far as you want. And that's sort of identifying your broad areas. So then again, you're going to want to review the related searches as well. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to move into the Google Keyword Planner. Just a note on the Keyword Planner. I, at the moment, exclusively use the Google Keyword Planner for researching keywords. If you have used Market Samurai in the past or Word Tracker, then there are paid services available that will also assist in your keyword research. I find from my ends that I get all the information I need from the Google Keyword Planner. If you find that you find Market Samurai, for example, particularly useful, then there's no reason why you can't go ahead and use that. But I've tried both of those products and I like them both, but I find now that the Google Keyword Planner is sufficient for my needs. So that's just a note on tools. When you first go into the keyword tool, then it'll look like this. So what you need to do is you need to search for new keyword and ad group ideas. And what we're going to do in the first step actually is we're going to add our landing page into the landing page box here. Now we can do this multiple times. So I would add, your home page, for example, and also any landing pages that you've got prepared, if you have any prepared yet. So let's add it in. Okay. You're going to want to make sure that the targeting is appropriate. So, I'm in the UK and I'm only interested in the UK, but obviously if you're researching the market for a different country, you need to make sure this is correct. Same for language. And then get ideas. The other thing you need to make sure at the moment is that Google is showing you broadly related ideas as well. That is the correct setting at the moment. And what that'll do is that'll throw up some keyword ideas from Google. By default, they group these ideas under ad groups, which is in itself is useful because if you remember at the moment, all we're doing is trying to identify broad areas. So, and you're going to have to look down this and, just make a bit of a judgment call. So, we've got things like arrows, bow. So, that isn't particularly helpful actually. So, just going to have a look in keyword ideas. So books is obviously a good one. That's certainly something I'd be interested in as having as an ad group. Kits, so that kits may or may not go in the equipment ad group depending on how we decide to structure things. Products is sort of the same. So I think what we'd probably do, because equipment is quite a big area for archery, I'd probably split that down into different ad groups and have like an arrows ad group, a bows ad group, quivers ad group, that sort of thing. So bows, bow woods, that's again a more specific niche in the bows ad group, because that's people looking to actually make a bow themselves. So the general rule here is that if you would write a different ad for this keyword, it belongs in a different ad group. And what we're trying to do at the moment, if you remember, is just identify all the ad groups that we want to create. So you're going to have a look down this, and just at the moment we're still working on paper. Or, in Excel if that works for you, but I prefer to write them down on paper and just make a note of all the ad groups I want to create. And obviously, you're going to want to repeat this multiple times. So add in all the landing pages you've got, add in any competitors' URLs. Because what Google is telling you here is that they're telling you what keywords Google think are related to the website you just entered. So add in your competitors' websites, add in any industry forums, any industry directories, that sort of thing. Add all those sorts of things and make a note of any broad keyword ideas that you'd want to create separate ad groups for. So that's step 4. Step 5 is to do the same thing, only this time we're going to enter keywords instead of URLs. So if I modify this search, I'm going to remove the landing page and maybe add in traditional archery, and maybe, well, okay, let's just leave it at that for now. So get ideas, and again, you're going to want to repeat this process as many times as is necessary until you don't find any more broad keyword ideas. So yeah, get ideas. And again, it's the same process. So, review the ad group ideas first. Again, okay, so that is more relevant now. So obviously longbow is one that we haven't got yet. Crossbow, if let's say we had an archery store that sold crossbows, that would be one. The other thing that you're going to want to do here is start to make a list of negative keywords as well. So let's say, for example, that we have an archery shop but we don't sell crossbows. Crossbow and crossbows might be negative keywords that you might want to add. So what I would do at the same time is I would keep a notepad file open. So I would add in crossbows, crossbow, crossbows. And just store them somewhere for now, because what we'll do when we set up the account is we'll add these in as negative keywords. So the keyword research process is really as much about finding negative keywords as it is about finding positive keywords, because the objective out of all of this is to have only relevant people interested in your proposition come to your website. So again, have a look through the ad group ideas, have a look through the keyword ideas, and make a note of any ad groups that you want to create as part of your account structure. Step 6 then is where we sort of change gears a little bit. So we've done the broad research, we've done the brainstorming process, we've done all the research, and we've got a list of ad groups that we want to create. So what we need to do now is, for each ad group in turn, we need to identify all the keywords that we want to add in that particular ad group. So let's say, for example, that traditional archery arrows was one of our ad group sort of ideas. Then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to adjust this search. So in this case, what we're going to do is, so let's put in traditional archery arrows, get ideas. And in this case, you're going to want to make sure you're on keyword ideas, because we're not interested anymore in finding ad groups. We want to add keywords to an ad group that we've already identified. And you're going to want to change some of the options here as well. So you want to only show keyword ideas that are closely related to your original search term. So we're not researching anymore, we're trying to drill down into a particular area. Oops, we can't display search volume charts, please. Okay, that's probably because there's no ideas returned for the query, so let's adjust that. So equipment. Okay. So if that happens, so let's say, let's just go back to arrows for a second. What I would do in this case, so if Google is saying they can't find any related keywords, which seems a bit odd to me actually. But what I would do in this case is I would have this as the only keyword in the ad group. I would probably add it in on modified. Well, what I would do is I would add in 2 keywords. I would add in traditional archery arrows as an exact match term. So an exact match term has square brackets around it. But then I would also add in the same keyword on modified broad match. So a modified broad match has a plus sign in front of all the terms. I use modified broad match a lot. I'll put a link beneath this video explaining exactly what modified broad match is. It's a great video by Joel McDonald, so I'm not going to replicate what he says in that. But what this means is that Google can show ads for any searches that include the term traditional archery and arrows in any order, with any additional words on the end or at the start or in between. As long as the search query includes the words traditional archery and arrows, Google will show your ads. So this keyword is a bit of like a catch-all keyword. So that's what I would do. If you've got a lot of keywords that you want to convert to modified broad match in one go, then there's a really handy tool available. Let me find it. So I'll put a link to this as well. It's called the AdWords Broad Keyword Converter. So what you could do is, so let's say for example, if you had your list of keywords in Excel later on and you wanted to convert them to modified broad match, you can put them in or paste them in here from Excel or Notepad, for example. Oops, archery, and specify that you'd like to convert all terms, and it'll just add in the plus signs for you. So that just saves a bit of heavy lifting of literally adding plus signs in front of all your keywords. So assuming that Google does show some more ideas here, again, what you're going to want to do is there's a bit of a manual process. You have to come down one by one and add in all of the keywords that are related to the term that you search for to begin with. So again, we're only showing keywords closely related to our individual search term, and you might also want to apply a filter. So Google will typically, so in this case Google have only shown 47 keywords. That's quite manageable. If Google show about 800 keywords, then you might want to thin the crowd by specifying a minimum number of average monthly searches. And that will just, prioritize the searches for you that have the highest number of monthly searches. So again, you're going to come down this list and you're going to add in keywords that are related to the original term. You're not going to add any terms where you would write a different ad for that keyword, because in that case it belongs in a different ad group or in its own ad group. So you're going to come down and review this list one by one and add in. So let's add in equipment. Use traditional archery equipment. That might do for this case. You do want to be quite granular. The keywords that you add in each ad group should all be quite closely related. If not, then you're going to serve different ads to people looking for quite different things. Once you've got all the keywords that you want, there's no particular rule of thumb as to how many keywords should be in an ad group. In some cases it might be 1, in some cases it might be 20. It just depends on what people search for and how related the terms are. But once you've got all the terms that you want, then what you're going to do is you're going to go to review estimates and you're going to enter a bid. It's not terribly important what bid you enter. I would enter a bid that roughly relates to what you would expect to pay. If you're not sure, just enter £1 or $1. Select get detailed estimates. And what we're going to do from here, so what you could do if you already had the account structure set up is you could add the keywords straight to your account. Because we haven't set the account up yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this list of keywords, including average monthly searches, competition and statistics. I'm going to download it to Excel. and I'm going to download it under an appropriate keyword research folder. So it's all nicely organized. So I'll end up with one CSV file with all the keywords I want for each ad group that we've identified as part of the broad keyword research. Hope that helps. If you've got any questions, please let me know.